Hey homesteaders, welcome back to Sheena's Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how to prune your blackberries for optimum output next year. So first things first, when we're talking about blackberries, we have two types of canes. We have a prima cane and a flora cane. The prima cane is the first year cane, and those don't produce our fruit. That would be something like this, which is completely new growth. The flora cane is something that is the second year of that branch being on the plant, and that is the one that is going to produce all of your fruit. So we are going to identify those two branches, and what we're going to do in our pruning aspect is we're going to take out the branches that have already fruited, because they will never fruit again. So that's the first thing I'm going to do as I come in here to clean this up, is just make sure that I get out all of the ones that have fruit on them like this. So this one is a spent flora cane. It will never produce again, so I am going to get rid of it. These are my clippers, and I'm going to make sure that I use alcohol to clean them so that we don't spread disease from plant to plant. So now that I'm ready to prune, I am going to follow this spent flora cane all the way down to its base. So come down here with me. You can see right here is the flora cane, and I am going to cut it just like that. So you can see I cut this at a 45-degree angle so that all of the water runs off at the base and doesn't get stuck at the top. If I had cut it like this straight across, then water would get stuck on here, and it tends to cause mold and other kinds of problems and bacteria. When we cut it at a 45-degree angle, it makes the water run straight off of it at the base. Once you do that, once you go through and you've taken out all of your spent flora canes, the next thing we're going to do is come in here and find our prima canes. So the prima cane is, like I said, the first year of growth. So next year, all of our fruit is going to be on prima canes. So we want to take good care of them. The first thing we do is we want to cut these back to be about 3 to 4 feet long. And remember to cut on an angle. We want that to be 3 or 4 feet long. Now this will strengthen and just give us a really nice base for next year. It'll also include a lot of lateral growth, which is where our fruit will be. This is a prima cane that I cut earlier in the season. You can see that cut right here, and you can see how nicely the lateral growth came off because we forced that growth hormone down into the plant, and it encouraged this side growth. But now what we're going to do, because you can see some of that side growth grew really long, for the winter we want this to be just about 12 to 18 inches. So I'm going to cut right there, and now we have just a nice solid piece of growth there. I'm going to cut this one down to 12 inches. This one, and this one's already there. So now this looks perfect for the spring. If you allow your branches to get too long, what they'll do is they'll end up flopping over. Now you can see I cut this one, so this one's not going to get too long. But what they'll do is they'll flop over, and what their goal is to touch the ground so that they can replant themselves, because the tip of this plant will actually grow roots down into the ground, and you can start yourself a whole new blackberry plant that way. But if your focus is on trying to grow more fruit, then you're not going to want to let that happen. So that's why we cut them at the 3 to 4 foot length. Sometimes a little bit longer. This one's probably about 5 feet. And then it shoots the growth hormone back into the plant, and we will get so much more fruit this way. So I'm just clipping these side branches, and this is going to be a huge producer next year. The very last tip that I have for you when you are pruning your blackberries is to take out any of the dead. So you can see right here that this branch does not look healthy. It is a dead branch. So we're gonna go all the way down to the bottom and we're gonna clip this guy out and then carefully pull these branches out, because one thing I do want to tell you about is when you're pulling really hard on these, they can snap back at you, and you just want to make sure you don't get an eye injury or anything like that. So do be aware of that when you are pruning your blackberries. But other than that, we're doing a great job here of cleaning these up. Don't be afraid if you're taking out tons of branches. As long as you follow my 3 steps and the rules to pulling out the right ones, you're gonna be just fine in the spring. Also, at any point during this video, if you have any questions that I didn't cover, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. I will answer every single question, and that is just my policy for every video I produce. If I don't know the answer offhand, I will find the answer for you. So this is a good example here of how it can get out of control quickly. But you can see this cane right here has been cut, and I am just trimming up the branches that come out laterally so that we don't have a big mess. Oops, I missed this one. So I'm gonna cut this one at 12 inches. Here's another really good example. This is one that I cut in the summertime when it was just getting out of control. So you can see how tough and thick this stalk has turned out to be because I cut it at the right time there. And then now that it is fall, I've come in and I cut all the lateral branches to be about 12 inches. But look at those gorgeous lateral branches. And that's all because we took the growth and we stopped it here, and so the plant started to put it into the sides where it will produce next year. So now we have this one. This is going to produce next year for us, but we are keeping it at about a 4-foot length. Another reason for doing this is airflow. We want to get nice, good airflow in and around our plants. Anytime that you have a situation where there's not a lot of airflow, you get disease. And that is not what we want, right? We want our blackberries to be healthy and to be able to breathe. So the more that we can clear out of here, the better. So just a final recap here. 1, we want to come in, we want to take all the spent branches out. Anything that's fruited before, get it out. It'll never produce again, and it just wears down your plant. 2, we want to identify all the new canes, all the new prima canes. We want to cut them down to about 4, 5, 6 feet at most. And then the third thing that we want to do is come in and cut those lateral branches to be about 12 to 18 inches at maximum. And then final is our cleanup. So anything that is dead or diseased or broken, let's get rid of it, clear it out so that our plants can breathe. Well, homesteaders, that is today's video. I hope you found this inspiring. If you don't already have blackberries, I think it's a crop that every person should start growing, especially if you're trying to homestead in a smaller area. Let's say you don't have a huge farm, but you just, you can put your blackberries on the side of your house, and as long as you take care of the pruning aspect, they don't take up that much space and they yield so much food. Homegrown blackberries are far better than the ones you buy at the store. They're not like anything you've ever tasted before. You can make jams out of them or pies, all sorts of things, and the kids love eating them. Just coming on over to the blackberry patch and grabbing a couple while they're playing outside. It's a delicious summer fruit. So again, I hope this encouraged you, and if you don't mind, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you again on Sheena's Homestead. Goodbye, friends.